Hi, intrepid viewers. Welcome to winter in Australia. So I hope those of you in the Northern Hemisphere are having a better time with summer. I know some of you have had power failures and stuff, but I wish you a good summer because you've probably already forgotten winter isn't that much fun. No. We've got a lot of things to cover today, the news, but I think we should start with the cat fight between Marjorie Taylor Greene and the esteemed Lauren Boebert. In the halls of Congress, they're going at it. Well, really, Marjorie's going at it. Have you seen the footage? And McCarthy has no control over the House and no control over them. And they have no control over themselves. So there's not a lot of control going on, right? Self-control or otherwise. I mean, I went to one of the worst high schools in Queensland, and this sort of thing happened every lunchtime. But I thought those days were gone. But I was wrong. There they were. Shockingly bad. All right. Now, Jack Smith apparently has a plan B concerning Bedminster. We'll get to that at some point. But one more bit of news before we move on. I digress. Elton John came out and said DeSantis and Florida are leading the nation in homophobia and how disgusting that was. So I'll be looking at Florida also in this reading. But here we go. What I want to look at now, Harlan Crow. Remember, he's the guy who has been financing money through Citizens United or Freedom First, or, those right-wing, hyper-religious hedge funds for rich people. And he was the one behind paying Clarence Thomas's nephew's education, like a High Court judge couldn't pay for his nephew to go to school. You need Harlan Crow. Even the name sounds like a villain in a Netflix series, doesn't it? Harlan Crow. And then Justice Alito is being grilled because there is an inquiry into this Harlan Crow and dark money in the GOP. So, of course, you keep coming across the same players. Right. And Justice Alito said, I haven't talked to him. We went on a fishing trip one time. No, it was a luxury cruise to Alaska. I mean, these guys, it's like The Sopranos. It's just, they think everyone else is an idiot and they can say anything and then the problem will go away, But I want to have a look at Harlan Crow. And also, as part of all this filthy money thing, you had Ginny Thomas being secretly paid for making law placements, which is a conflict of conflict of interest if you're married to a Supreme Court judge. But no, you'd think so, but no. Okay. And who paid her? I was astonished to see during the week. Kellyanne Conway. She arranged for the money to be siphoned to Ginny. So have the Conways split up? Do any of you know? Because you'd think George Conway would be going, please change your last name, Kellyanne, please do it for me, wouldn't you? So I'm going to have a look. First up, Harlan Crow. It's all this same incestuous nest of vipers. They're disgusting. Okay. Harlan Crow. Oh, he's got one leg in the trap. What is his obstacle? Emotional connections. Oh. Well, I don't know that I've even seen this man's face, He's just one of those shadowy figures. But here he is represented by the hangman. He's not that worried. I think he's refused to comply with the first subpoenas and all that thing that's become normalized. But this says that there is a rope around the foot. He's not altogether free from all this. And um, these other cards are not looking marvelous for him. Is it Sheldon Whitehouse who's doing this committee into the dark money in the GOP, or is it another case? Impossible to keep track. But he's not out of the woods yet. Then he has two cards about emotion, and you really don't want these together. This is overflowing emotions, good, bad, or ugly. This is giving you a clue which of those would be. So seeing these together, I think, I'm wondering if someone in Harlan Crow's business world, it's often those invisible women, who administer these offices that these guys don't notice once they've stopped chasing them around the desk. I think someone's going to speak out on Harlan Crow. And it's going to create a burden for him. Like I said, the vibe for him now is he's brushing it off. Oh, I have to go through this and that. But this is a 10. And then the Wheel of Fortune, it's like it's doing its karmic cycle. I think he's had a very good run, but he's not running anywhere just now. I don't know if the DOJ has the cojones to go all the way with this guy, but I think he's turned up now in too many contexts. They let the uber powerful get away with so much, and sometimes it just becomes impossible to cover up the slime. Okay, so DeSantis has had a busy week. He signed into law a very ugly deal on undocumented migrants. But the weird thing is, it's making obviously people's lives much harder. But he's also threatening, and this is the part that doesn't make sense to me, he's also threatening that the people who employ undocumented immigrants are going to be in some sort of trouble. Who would that be, Ron? Everybody, every hotel, every golf course, everything. I think get used to growing your own tomatoes and avocados and corn, because who's going to pick it, So that's upsetting conservative business in Florida. So I want to have a look at it from the angle, will big business be able to make an impression on him, rein him in? What's the reaction of big business to this new law? It's never worked in the past, so let's do it again. They're full of good ideas, aren't they, the GOP? Let's have a look at business in Florida with this new law. Okay. My Biden card. Oh, what an unholy mess. This is just extraordinary. Okay. In this context, I think Biden is just sitting it out and watching. Well, you would, wouldn't you? Because you really wouldn't want to get emotionally attached to any of this, because you'd be so outraged you'd never take another breath. So he's at the base of the reading, observing this. Now, here we get, bang on top, the devil card. Well, he's not called to Satan for nothing, is he really? Please, Big card, the judgment card. the devil is being judged externally by these people. This is causing some people to wake up, mind you, in Florida, the ones who just routinely vote GOP, as opposed to those who are sometimes past Democrats and they come to a state with low taxes and then think, oh, well, I'll just vote for low taxes. This is a judgment call on his behavior. What's over the top? The moon. This is crazy. This is seriously a crazy law. It's going to have a very unwelcome outcome for DeSantis on this. It's actually going to tie his hands. In other words, I'll stick my neck out here and say he will either have to modify it or ditch it or not enforce it or something. It's an absolutely gobsmackingly stupid move. But he's not the brightest guy ever in the history of American politics. Speaking of which, Don Jr., also the brain of a goldfish, and you add to that a lifetime adult addiction, YouTube, that's for entertainment purposes only. When's he going to get arrested? I mean, really, how come he's floating around? They're all upset about Hunter Biden getting probation, but really? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm going to have a quick look at Virginia here before we get to Jack Smith. Now, a couple of viewers wrote to me and said, what's happening with Glenn Youngkin in Virginia? Virginia has not voted for a GOP president in 20 years, and yet he got in last time and he's busily trying to rewrite the laws. They're just like tin pot dictators. They're getting into power, rewriting these constitutions and things, saying, oh, it says here I can stay as president forever, you know. And he's been doing that on a local scale. I'll do a quick one for the viewers. In Virginia, what's the lay of the land there? Now he's controlling some big aspect of the legislation. What's happening in Virginia? Virginia. Oh, okay. God, I hope this is right, guys. No. Sensible, mature women have realized the wheel has turned far enough. This would be on abortion and contraception and women's bodies. Sorry, I digress for a moment. This is quite a serious issue. Women's mortality in childbirth in America was already very, very poor compared with every other first world nation. It has gotten worse since Roe versus Wade. And the thinking is it's because doctors aren't sure what they can and can't do. So more women are dying because of these guys and their fantasies. 9 of Wands. I think this is Virginia itself. In between battles, it's let this get this far, but I'm optimistic with the star card here. So I'll say by 2024, let's see. But my first reaction is it will be okay, Virginia. But that does mean every single person needs to get out and vote Dem who is eligible. Goodness me. And in other news, God, there's so much news, it's hard to work your way through it, isn't it? Josh Hawley. Now, you remember Josh Hawley. On January 6th, he was in Congress. He gave a Black Power salute to the protesters, I'm on your side, guys, and then was last seen running to protect his lily ass down the corridors of Congress, that Josh Hawley. How dare he use that symbol? You know. So I remember it went around the world, the 1968 Mexico Olympics, Tommy Smith and John Carlos. Now, in case you don't know, I'm sure you all know the famous moment on the podium of the Olympics. But remember, they only had one glove each. They were deliberately barefoot, symbolizing poverty, but they only had one glove each. And the third person on the podium, who never gets remembered, but we remember because he was Australian, Peter Norman. He actually came second. But he belonged to a very compassionate church. And so he was, when racism was rampant in Australia, just like it is now, but let's go back 40 years or 50. He was sympathetic. They had enough respect for him as an athlete. They came and said, we are going to do this thing. It will probably end our careers. The world is watching. You're going to be on the podium with us. So as a courtesy, we're saying we are going to do this. As they were getting ready to go out to the medal ceremony, one of them had left his gloves, because they were going to wear 2 black gloves each. One of them had left his gloves back in the dressing room, and they were being marshaled, and there wasn't time to go back. And it was Peter Norman who said, wear one glove each. And so that's our little bit of Australian history embedded in that very famous, iconic image. So there you go. You can't say you learn nothing watching tarot readings, can you? Really? No. Okay. So now we did that. Aileen Cannon. Anyway, what she's done is announce a very early trial date, July. But any of the legal people say that's only where you start, you know, and and both sides will push it out, and it'll probably come much later in the year. But she's refusing to recuse. But anyway, I'm not reading on her today. What I want to go back to, the juicy one, Jack Smith, Plan B, Bedminster. Okay. So apparently, not surprisingly, because the FBI have all the dirt on what was said to who, where, and when. They've got Bedminster, they've got New York City, and they've got Florida. The documents case ended up in Florida because that's where they were found. And they still apparently have something on Bedminster. So let's have a look. Jack Smith and Bedminster, or is this just a legal rumour? Let me tell you, the worst gossips in the world are lawyers. Lawyers can't keep a secret if their life depended on it. They're the worst gossip. So this might be legal gossip, or it could be a fantastic development in this case. Okay, what's happening? Jack Smith, Bedminster, the Yeti, what's happening? Oh, wow, what cards, what cards, what cards? Well, I thought it might be a rumour, but I don't think so now. These are significant cards. In the One World Tarot, we made a decision to make the victory card, 6 of Wands, Boudica. or Boadicea, as we used to call her in school, the old Latin name, and now it's more groovy to use her traditional name, which would have been Boudica. Victory. The Star of America shining bright, the light on the hill, all of that stuff. This is hope, optimism, and the things America got right. That list is shrinking as the list of bad things is rising, but this is so important to keep heart and to keep your eye on the prize. As if that wasn't enough, I'll just remind you, the world is watching, and most people who are watching from somewhere else in the world are thinking, why is this guy still walking around? You know, like, but it affects the world. What happens in America does impact everybody, and people are observing this trend. I think Jack Smith, I'm lumping it under Jack Smith's umbrella, but this is a woman, the Queen of Wands. There might be a female judicial figure who takes hold of the Bedminster stuff. So I hope she's really experienced, unlike Aileen Cannon, and I hope she runs a tight ship. But this is Bedminster. This is Bedminster, correct. Oh, a few other things. Santis. Not only did he introduce this stupid law, he, overnight, the last day or so, he's introduced a law that you can't, after this week or something, you can't buy a car in Florida directly, like one person sells it to another person. So he has eliminated one-to-one private purchases, and you can only go through a car dealership. Now, why would he bother? Why would it matter? Why? Everything about it is so weird. And I just saw something last night. Car Dealers of America are actually an extremely big political lobby for the GOP. And because the NRA is sort of out of the picture because it's got so many issues going on, American car dealerships have donated the most money to the GOP this year. I was astonished. So it's no longer a mystery. He's been paid off to do this law. Now, you know what I'm hoping, really hoping? I don't think most people like that idea. I think most people would rather be able to still buy a car or sell their car to their nephew or buy the car from your next door neighbor. Or it's called freedom. It actually exists in most countries, and you can actually do this, but not anymore in Florida, it would appear. Okay, and before I go, major announcement. I'm on with Linda G, the Comanche psychic herself, and it'll be Monday night, 7 p.m. Is it 7 p.m.? I'll have to check the time. New York. No, sorry, scrap that. It's American Monday the 26th, but I think it's California time. So go to Linda's channel. She's got it up there. I don't trust my maths for this. So go and check Linda's channel. Don't miss it. And I'll see you there. Oh, and in the meantime, tomorrow, 7 p.m. New York time, which is where my brain was, is when I'm on with Hogarth and Lady G. That is your Saturday night in the US. But don't forget your Monday. Lena's in the house with Linda G. Can't wait. You guys take care. Let me know how you're going, what's happening in your world. Love you. Ciao, ciao.